Every time I look into the space game related topics or lists, I'm reminded of severe depression and existential dread that we all live in. I mean, sure, the pandemic crap is one thing, but even without it, not many space games have come out in recent years, nor they have been good for the most part. Still, if like me you do enjoy some sci-fi ship-based games, I poured over all the things that resembled space sims, even just a little, and put most outstanding ones here for your enjoyment. Maybe you'll find something you like. So, we'll then start off like the gaming industry in general does, with things that you can spend money on, but are not playable at all, and move on from there. Kicking this list off then with the star fucking Citizen. Yes, this grand shitter of excess, avarice and failure. 8 fucking years, $380 million, and it's still in alpha with no end in sight. Nor, for the matter of fact, the Squadron 42 either. While we've gotten some info for Squadron 42 and what it will kind of be in the last few months, it's still very questionable. As for Star Citizen, on the other hand, the so-called playable alpha just keeps on chugging along with minor improvements that their PR team blows out of proportion to make it seem like it's a bigger deal than it actually is. Still, as they've been chugging along every year, Star Citizen just keeps looking less and less cutting edge. I realized this after my hypercritical review of Cyberpunk, but by the time CIG decides to release this bloated mess, I fear it may end up being an extremely average game with underwhelming performance. However, I do want to be proven wrong. Next up then is a more positive example, Infinity Battlescape, a space combat game. But unlike all other space combat games, developers Innove have chosen to give this space game a planetside treatment. As in planetside the game, not the planetside... Wait, I'm confusing myself. What the fuck? Basically, massive space battles across the solar system with planets and that crucial aspect of space. The idea is not bad. However, the game is very rough right now, where the UI is barely comprehensive, gameplay, while basic, obviously needs work, and ship models as well as all other visuals are quite placeholdery. Now, I like the idea of this game, but even with NPCs filling up the space, it's a large map to play in, and I doubt it will ever catch the mainstream appeal. So, very few players, large map, multiplayer dependent. Unfortunately, not a great mix, but I like them and I want them to succeed. Next up then is another early access, a beta stage game called Dual Universe. Developers Noah Quirk, a French studio, attempts to make a persistent universe, with Minecraft-like crafting and building where every change players make will stay in the game forever, if not altered. Everyone has their little spot of land, and the game servers are large, a voxel-based game on top allowing for complete array and item building. The idea there is grand and in concept amazing. Right? Well, too bad, the devs are fucking hypocrites and dicks. I truly hate when a game's idea is absolutely ruined by its creator. Yes, I'm looking at you, Escape from Tarkov, Battlestate Games. You can go get fucked as well. Anyways, for more info of what happened, go check out my video that I made about the whole player banning because developers couldn't be competent enough on their own. But if you're not bothered by the developer credibility, I forgot to mention the Dual Universe is also a subscription game. Yes, that's right, the relics of old somehow still exist, and it takes the French to attempt to revive it. Also, for the beta game, Dual Universe performance is like a newborn in a tumble dryer. Utterly fucked. Frankly, I would not pay for a beta game monthly, let alone to be a tester for it. And neither should you. And as if we couldn't get away from the bad things, those of you interested in more realistic but silly space things, KERBAL Space Program 2 was delayed a while back to 2022, after yet another delay. Frankly, normally I would say be patient and give them time, but as my friend Charlatan Wonder says, 3 delays and you should drop all expectations. Poor KERBAL Space Program and its devs haven't had the best of times. First, due to the Take-Two takeover and their shenanigans, then again due to pandemic stuff, and now again. Overall, sure, the game is not cancelled yet, but continued delays often don't speak of good things, again as we learned from Cyberpunk and other examples. Next up then is a little space game by the name of Earth Analog, and this one's actually probably already released by the time you watch this. A game with a Newtonian physics and unique looking planets as you move along in the deep dark space to look for Earth Analog Planet. All that may sound cool in idea, but dreadfully boring and annoying in reality to cajole the ship to do what you want it to. Yes, it has unique feeling of emptiness and solitude that other space games would only dream about, but its downfall is the game mechanics. If only the ship was less convoluted to adjust and control, say like in Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous, I would probably enjoy it a little bit more. Oh, and this.
Hull critical. Landing complete.
Overall, it's a pleasant little game that needs improvements and more gameplay, but the concept is there. Next up then is a game mostly made by a single Russian guy. And indeed, the Russian part will be felt in SPACERIFT Arcanum, as everything is in Russian with a few bits translated. My first question about this game after seeing Steam reviews was, yes, it's primarily Russian, so then why give it an English name if the primary language won't be English? Блин, чё-то зараза эта игра? Я бы сказал нет. So, first impressions right off the game were amazing. I start the game, I'm dropped in this spaceship that controls just like in X series or Star Citizen. It's all simple and works as you expect it to. The smooth inertia and physics felt so comfortable. Then the silly little real life videos that come up with your typical Russian voice acting, and frankly, yeah, that's proper Russian, not the crap we get in mainstream games. Though it's kinda weird to not see the typical Russian-style punctuation in such a game.
А чё ты, блин? Давай наливай, пацан! Да пошёл, пидорас, блядь! Come on, you honey, зараза, блин!
Мы стали богаче нас.
Ёб твой пидорас, блядь!
But I won't begrudge it for it. Combat is exactly like in X series, and frankly, this is not what I prefer. The cursor-based aiming, while at the same time adjusting your movement, is not a good combination. Two important things in space combat should not overlay. I really think that Star Citizen and more so Elite Dangerous style aiming should be a better choice.
Oh my god, this is actually more fun than Elite Dangerous, mine. Imagine that. Oh my god, it actually is more fun than Elite Dangerous, man. You can autopilot on the objective. Oh god, it's good. The little details. It's so intuitive. Just think of, maybe I might mouse over the damn thing, and it can. Oh, I like this.
As for the visuals and models, well, they're kinda dated, but at every step you can feel that people who worked on this did so with passion. It literally oozes effort. Yes, it has issues, but by God, this is almost like an underdog story. A guy decides to make a game just like the ones he likes, and frankly speaking, in case of X4, outshines it with simpler mechanics and more efficient use of them, while taking examples from other space games. That's how you potentially have something good on your hands. The only thing I can say about this game is, look at other games in the genre, take the good examples from them and don't repeat the mistakes they make. Like, for example, Elite Dangerous and their amazing UI. It's a perfect for start, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This, frankly, is the only of today's upcoming games that I'm pleasantly surprised entirely. Yes, it's still rather rough to be called a game, but it's got some good, inspired and promising aspects that just makes you want to root for it. And it's basically made by one guy from Novosibirsk, with a little bit of help. Really, the best of luck, SPACERIFT. Make us proud. Then we have another space game coming out this year around May called Flight of Nova. The game boasts about being a flight simulation of entering and exiting this one planet as you accomplish different jobs. Overall, from the trailers you notice basically one thing, and that the textures and models are extremely extremely dated. Something you'd expect from a game from 2010 at best. But here's the thing, as long as it's interesting to play, boy oh boy will I not give two straight jet-propelled shits about the looks. Often it is the ugly-looking ones that bring in something unique and interesting. So for now, we wait and see how it will play out. Literally. Oh hey, do you like Shipbreaker? Do you like Space Engineer? Well, then here's a new voxel-based game for you. Another one that is slated for Q1 release of 2021. This game, again being a voxel-based one, has destructible environments and all that voxel business. But frankly, seeing how Dual Universe has ruined my taste for voxels, I'm pretty weary of such things. Still, the game's basically about making / repairing and defending this illustrious Starbase. In trailers you notice a few interesting mechanics as well as others that scream jank as fuck, but hey, we shall see when it comes out. Now, let's then take a look at some of the games that came out already this year. I know it's only been a month, but blast it, we already got some. Starting with the second iteration in Everspace. The original was a roguelike space combat game, very similar to Faster Than Light, but, you know, 3D and shit. Wow, boys! Seriously though, Everspace 1 was and still is a respectable game that is worth your time. As for the second game now, the roguelike elements have been replaced by an open world, better UI, better story, voice acting and visuals. Developers Rockfish simply took their already decent game and polished it up with a few new features and mechanics. A solid game that can only be criticized for its balance, visual style choice, and minor performance aspects like alt-tabbing. You can claim that the game is basically the same as the last one, and you wouldn't be too far from the reality. But it's really well done, and for a sequel, that's exactly what you need to do. I find myself really enjoying the game, more so due to, well, admittedly, rip-off UI from Destiny. But unlike in Destiny, this UI works. I just simply hate the way the UI looks in Destiny 2. But here, nope. So this one's a gem, and worth your time as well. And now the other game that just came out and also is a follow-up. This one though, to the Redout series. Yes, this Redout. The developer 34 Big Things decided to toss their hat into the space combat games rink, and this is the first trailer for the game. And this is the actual game. Why? Why? Why the fuck is this on rails, god damn it? Oh, I'm so playing the game right now. That's alright, I died, that's just a scratch, you know? It doesn't matter if I die or not. I lose money, but so what? As long as I finish the mission, it's alright, right? Oh my god, what the fuck is this? Redout, a game that was a very nice anti-gravity racer, is now an on-rails, self-playing, non-losable most of all, mobile port. Frankly, I have seen mobile games that work on PC pretty well, but this is a bad joke where 34 Big Things had a successful game, then saw an opportunity to cash in and then wiped its ass with it. There's so much wrong with Space Assault that the only thing I can think of right now is this. Anyways, well, for the relative end, let's just quickly go over the yesteryear's games that are certainly well worth your time and all have space, or probably are space sims, or well at least include spaceships and the space for the space fanatics. And speaking of fanaticism and rampant rabid, furious masturbatory nerd noises, Star Wars! Yes, this old space nugget! The last game released, at least currently, under EA no less, was Star Wars Squadrons, a rather pretty space combat game set in the famous universe. The game, while rather surprisingly positive result, some consider rather shallow. But what I'm more surprised about is it's an EA game, and it has no paid microtransactions, and rather cosmetics are earned during gameplay only. That alone is interesting. Then we have the good old Elite Dangerous. For at least the last 2 years, the game's been in semi-maintenance mode, while the majority of the dev team been working on this year's next biggest, greatest update yet. A full paid expansion that opens up some, and I really mean just some atmospheric planets for gameplay, as well as introducing first-person movement as a mode of transport for your player brains. However, among all the hypey things, we know that these following things will not be part of walking around. Ship interiors. Yes, that's right, it won't be possible. VR also. Yes, this feature beloved by many in the main game, when focused on the Space Legs gameplay, will just simply display a static screen for your headsets. And next-gen optimizations and releases. Yes, Frontier Developments have just chosen to rely on console makers for the backwards compatibility to make it playable on the next-gen consoles, and are not planning to release the next-gen versions. Now, of course, we still don't know much about Odyssey. Some signs point to underwhelming results, while others, namely the Space Legs, offer a potentially game-changing experience. Oh, and price-wise, it's gonna be 40 US antelopes or 35 European potatoes. I mean, better it be worth it, though considering that they are pushing pre-orders, well, we'll see. But never pre-order, damn it! X4 in the meanwhile. Ah boy, they still haven't made a proper UI for the game, but damn, those German Egosoft guys are still pumping out some nice little decent updates for their game. And just like Elite this year, X4 is bringing out second paid expansion for the game called Cradle of Humanity. This expansion, just like the last one, will bring in new gameplay features, new factions, territory, and even some graphical improvements. All that for 20 American burgers or 15 European tomatoes. And all signs point to Egosoft putting in effort and furthering their small but lovable game. Then what about the other space game? You know, the one that was a big old lie? The No Man's Lie? Ah yes, after surprisingly redeeming their abhorrent launch with Beyond Update in 2019, they continued onwards into 2020 with fantastic smaller and larger updates that now No Man's Sky is synonymous to a term good game. And it truly is. Yes, it's a baby's first space sim, but it's fun and oddly endearing. Not only because the developers release everything for free. I mean, let's just be honest, if they released anything for paid, it would go back to being a piece of shit. In any case, No Man's Sky is pretty much the only of today's games that is borderline mute when it comes to future updates or content. They just simply roll in one day like a drugged up pimp, and instead of smacking them hoes for cash, gets up on the kitchen counter, proceeds to literally shit a golden brick, and then leaves without so much as uttering a peep. And if anything, we can expect the same behavior in 2021. Well, the last time I skipped these guys, but it's only fair to give them some spotlight. The Starpoint Gemini 3 is quintessentially British. It's so British that the only thing that it lacks is a story segment about you courting and then fucking your own cousin. Oh, and the British thing. I didn't mean it as any form or shape of a positive. I hate it. I hate the story of the game with massive passion due to how bad and misplaced and boring and lazy and British it is. It could literally be written by one of my Elite Dangerous creator colleagues. Thing is, you can feel that the game has a lot of effort put into it. I really approve of that, and I bet the devs are good guys too. But fuck me raw in an acid bath with a pigeon dildo. The way this game is so British is that the story consists of long, dreary, boring, and rather poor attempts at exposition upon exposition. Just loads and loads of dim and shallow and long-winded garbage monologue or dialogue. I absolutely hate this. And the thing is, I truly respect and approve of this game, but god fucking damn it, do I absolutely cannot stand this storytelling type. But as for the gameplay, well, it's a relatively mediocre space combat game. And the team is from Croatia, not UK? Well, now I look stupid. How about we swiftly go from hate to complete dead? Yes, Hellion is dead, in case you wondered. It's not sold on Steam anymore, and developers, after what seems internal struggles and disagreements, have fled from their early access unreleased game, with the money they got to finish that unreleased game to possibly make a new project, but what it is, no one knows. So, fuck 'em. It's one thing to finish a game and stop developing it, but to do this shit for early access? Nah, mate, fuck ya. But what about a game that actually did come out of early access? Even though it still kind of feels like an embryo with a growth defect. Space Engineers, a game that still does not have a proper tutorial and instead tells you to go watch some YouTube videos. Well then, those people probably will be watching more of my videos instead of actually playing the game. Do you get it? Do you get the message? Do you get the message here? Seriously though, Space Engineers is a good small game. Seriously, developers kept updating it, and while it's janky as all hell being a voxel game, yes, it's a voxel game, it's one of the better ones. Build what you want and how you want it. I really like that aspect. Oh, and as a fun side note, whenever you hear the name Dual Universe, please consider buying Space Engineers instead, as it's a far better and far more polished game. Now on the indie charts, we have one of the Epic Store victims finally coming out to Steam page, the amazing Rebel Galaxy Outlaws. This game, when I turned it on for the first time, struck me with amazing soundtrack. Truly, the music that Double Damage has chosen for it is top notch. Still, overall, it's a space combat game for most part, but with some trading the developers have included, as well as some mini-games and little other things. While notably space combat arcade style game, it's filled with character. Developers too have their own in-your-face lovable scamp attitude. And the ship paint job customization is basically a motherfucking Photoshop! I'm not fucking kidding! It's not the level, oh, it's pretty good. No, you can import your own pictures on this fucker, and it does not cost you money. It almost feels like they tried to make a 3D model Photoshop and it didn't work out, so they kinda made a game for it and released it. That's how good it is. Of all the today's examples, these guys deserve the biggest attention. Still, fair warning, the gameplay depth is not great. In fact, it's, well, average arcadey shooter, with a few things attached to it, but for me, the few glowing aspects shine far brighter than the bad things. And how about another Epic Store afterbirth that slumps its way onto the garbage compactor that is Steam, the Outer Wilds, a truly unique space game? Well, yeah, I guess it's about piloting a spaceship to some planets, but well, I mean, look at it. It's so unique. And indeed, that is the word, unique. I frankly haven't seen a similar game yet. Well, okay, maybe No Man's Sky a little bit, but Outer Wilds just goes out of its way to make its journey into the weird space truly unforgettable. Here's an interesting little game, Helium Rain. As of middle of 2019, the development of this game seems to have stopped, but unlike Hellion, this is a finished game, and a rather decent one at that. It's less about space combat and more about the lone solitude as you're making your way through the stars. Helium Rain one day just simply arrived in my inbox, and since then I just couldn't get it out of my mind. It's a charming little game that's great for those who just simply want to spend a few hours floating in a space coffin. How about another out-of-development game? For those seeking a complete retro throwback, Objects in Space, a weird spaceship piloting sim-like game without any windows to the outside world, set in this blocky world. Don't let the visuals deceive you. Objects in Space has been in my inbox for a little while and remained in my brain due to the uniqueness. It has the nitty-gritty ship tinkering minigames just to make it move, and it's a rather captivating aspect that grabbed me. So if it looks like something you like, let them know I sent you. Last year a rather curious game came out, Shipbreaker. Instead of having a focus on piloting a ship or using it, here you'll be dismantling one and taking it apart bit by bit. Well, personally, it's not the fondest type of a gameplay for myself. I can still fully respect a cathartic, slow and careful job of cleaning up.
Blim!
Overall, a nice looking quality game, though it's published by Focus Home Interactive. Not the best publishers in the recent times. And we finish today's look into another ship-based game, one that is my all-time favorite in the 2D category, a roguelike game called Faster Than Light. Yes, development on this game has stopped as it's finished, full, and developers have been working on another roguelike game like this, so looks like that's their niche. But still, Faster Than Light is one of those games that you just can't get enough of, as most great roguelikes are. Safe to say, I fully recommend this one to anyone. I only wish that they ported it to mobile so I could have something to play alongside Pixel Dungeon. It's also a free game, donationware, that I do recommend too. Anyhow, that's about it on the past, present and future space games. Sure, there were a few that I did not include, like EVE Online or Star Trek Online, that just like your old granny just refuses to simply keel over and die. But frankly, I know absolutely nothing about them, and at this point I'm too afraid to even learn about. Still, if you enjoyed this look into space games, do subscribe, and moreover, if you want to support my work, do consider becoming a patron, it really helps out. And you get to join the community of dead horse beating aficionados, yes.